Bingetown, how we feeling today? It's your boy Dave with fellow weebs Alki and Kyle. We are continuing our training journey with Tanjiro as we are covering episodes 3 and 4 of season 5 of Demon Slayer, titled Fully Recovered Tanjiro Joins the Hashira Training Arc. And I'm just now reading that, and that's a little bit of a white lie, because didn't they say he's not fully healed specifically? But anyway, and episode 4 being To Bring a Smile to One's Face. Really not much to say for the intro besides the show is freaking amazing. The show will never not be good. I think every episode merits at least an 8 out of 10 no matter what happens. And honestly, I've been enjoying the pacing of these episodes a lot. I like how that we're moving from episode to episode, one Hashira at a time. I don't mind that we're moving so quickly through it all. I think Tanjiro at this point has displayed enough power over just these regular recruits that are just showing up for training that he can fully just pass all these early trainings with these Hashira. So I'm fine with the pacing. Of course, in these episodes, they're also going to mix in some great animated fights as well. But I'm also anxious to get more into the upper moon and see what they're capable of. So real briefly, if Kyle and Alki, if you want to give your thoughts on the episode, we can get right into it after.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see how all this training pans out, how all this hard work will culminate into some serious ass kicking at the end of the episode. I'm envisioning this season to be a little bit just like it's literally called the Hashira Training Arc. I hope that we get some fights. I hope that we get some upper level demons. We might not, honestly. It might end on a cliffhanger or something. I don't know. But regardless, this training will bear some ripe fruit for everybody involved.
Yeah, we're halfway through, and you're getting that sense. They're kind of weaving in this what it looks like a new number 4 upper rank. That won't lead nowhere. That will be, it seems, the villain type deal here. I'm enjoying the individual focus on the Hashira, but I can see a world where we look back, if not a ton, quote unquote, happens here, and it's just 8 episodes of training with the Hashiras, and then we have to wait another however long for a new season, where you feel a little bit like, dang, like I wish they could have had more content in this season. But that kind of is what it is. Like you said, Dave, if it's a Demon Slayer episode, I'm probably going to enjoy it.
Do we know for sure it's like 8 episodes and that's the whole arc, or is it one of those like part 1, part 2 deals?
I personally have no idea how to interpret all of the news.
Because what was the Swordsmith Village was like at least 12, right?
And it is such a debate on what numbered season you want to call that too.
Yeah. So, and we've been wrong before when we talk about these things. So
all I know is that we are in Hashira Training Arc, and spoiler alert, we're heading to the Infinity Castle arc. Those are the only 2 arcs I'm aware of. Now, how they break them up in terms of a break, like if they finish the Hashira Training Arc, wait a year, and then release the Infinity Castle, so be it. I don't think all of that is just going to span out in the next few months.
Infinity Castle sounds like
that's Endgame. No, that's it.
That's the last arc.
That sounds like it.
All right.
So that's what's to look forward to. But for now, let's talk about episode 3 and how we just open up with my boy, my homie, Tengen, and the reunion that Tanjiro and him have here. Very brief, very to the point, but man, I was feeling all the emotions still, just because season 3, the entertainment arc was personally still probably my favorite Demon Slayer arc, and Tengen really left his mark on me. So this reunion was amazing because these 2 guys are just, they have a great rapport, man. They're there to work hard. They respect each other's game, and they're both amazing human beings. So I just really love this for how short the reunion was. It still hit all the notes for me.
Tengen was hyped to see him too. We see him just, I want to say beaten up on, but he's working these normal guys pretty hard, and maybe they're getting better, maybe they're not. And then finally Tanjiro goes up. It's like, okay, my star pupil, like let's get it popping type of deal. Yeah, so that was nice.
He gets a little hype moment there. We also really briefly, for some reason, I don't know why they didn't show this in last episode, but we get the completion of Tanjiro's soba noodle eating contest with Gyu in this one. Because I said in the last episode, I wonder if we'll get that finish, and we do here.
You wondered who won.
Yeah, and we get the deal. No need to really get into it that much, besides the fact that it seems like Gyu is going to be returning to the Hashira Training Arc, as he should be.
Yeah, I definitely think Tengen can still kick some fucking ass.
He's stronger than Tanjiro still.
He's stronger than he could kick ass. Like he could kick ass. But I really liked how the recruits are like, this guy's a dick. He's working us to the bone. And then they did this in episode 4. We'll get to it. I'm not going to say how, but in this episode, they're like, well, actually, the Hashira, or in this case, the retired Hashira, make sure everybody finishes their food or doesn't eat anything till everybody eats, or like whatever.
Mhm.
He's like caring
There's
about
still
them.
care, whereas Muichiro did not really have that care. Like they were both strict, but in different ways. Tengen
Yeah.
still had at least shown a little bit of respect back to their pupils, but Muichiro was kind of just straight up being a dick.
Tengen is like tough love.
Yes,
Muichiro is
is
like is just tough
Yeah.
because he is still
But he
learning
doesn't
how to express himself. Tanjiro
Yes.
was the first person to really crack his shell.
They
And,
allude to that in the episode.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I don't know, dude. These guys are all the fucking man. I fucking
Yeah.
love Muichiro, dude. I think he's so sweet. We'll get to that. Tengen is also the man. I think he, we said this last time. He looks like a freaking animal. He looks awesome with the eye patch
And like the long hair that's like actually down now. And
yeah.
it's not-
And I love how energetic he is. He's got so much passion, like all the
Yeah.
time.
That's why.
And he would motivate me. I think these guys are wimps. I would be like, I would be hustling,
I think you need a lot of energy to have 3 wives.
dude.
That's also true.
God bless them.
They're working hard too. They're working hard too. I loved all the little background bits, you could say, even though they are main scenes, where we get Tanjiro is still doing squats after runs. He's just pushing himself further, and then helps the wives like clean up and stuff like that, because he still is not totally expended all his energy and things like that. And I liked the scenes between the wives and Tanjiro as well. They're just so nice. They're so appreciative of Tanjiro. Tanjiro's a beast. They're giving him all the tea and stuff like that. So that was just all nice to see.
I know that we've said this off podcast plenty, but since this is our first Demon Slayer recording,
Yep.
or whatever, dive into
Yeah.
whatever. The wives are caricatures of the big 3 in Tanjiro,
Yeah,
Zenitsu,
I've
and
read that.
Inosuke, and I think that's just worth noting here as we
We love
we
parallels.
peel back the episodes bit by
So
bit.
Tengen in some level has married Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu.
You know how the anime is with the fan service.
I'm just saying.
and-
So
and
that's
the
why him and
shipping.
Tanjiro get along.
So
But
yeah.
I am glad you brought up that Tengen wives scene with Tanjiro, because I wanted to bring it up in terms of the fact that they mentioned that Tengen is very antsy to get back onto the battlefield, which obviously gets me very hype, and I love seeing the Sound Hashira go to work. But I'm also very worried. I'm very worried that he is going to rush back out there, and that might lead to his demise. I think, Kyle, you were the one who predicted that he would be the one to die on last recording if a Hashira were to die this season. I
Did I
think.
say that?
I think
He's going back out there. There's no
But he's
way he
100%
doesn't go
going
back out
there.
there.
Yeah.
He's going back
Yeah.
out there, and that's what worries me. I want him to make it through the entire series, but I do not know.
He's not gonna let all those chumps have all the glory, dude.
Yeah,
He's got to show out
that's
for his
true.
wives, man.
That's true.
And then later in the episode, we get a really cool training scene of Tengen versus I keep calling them recruits. They're not recruits. I'll just call them trainees, I guess, and Tanjiro. And this is where the MC Tanjiro, that inspiration really kicks in. Tengen's knocking these bitches down one by one so easily. I love that he's really mimicking the movements and style of what demons do actually at night. And Tanjiro proves to be a competent leader and provides a lot of inspiration for these guys, even though they see the gap difference between Tanjiro and Tengen. While they admit that they're both on another level, they can still see that Tengen in himself is on another tier still. But the fact that Tanjiro is still willing to give it his all and work so hard to compete with that really inspires everyone else to be able to say, hey, even though we will never be like you two, we will still have our role in this battle upcoming. We're going to do our best to provide support to you guys. And this, I'm getting chills from that, honestly. Like, Tanjiro is the man. And I just think that this scene is really actually going to play a big part in the whatever war is upcoming. I think the recruits, these trainees, will actually have big moments in the war that is upcoming. And I think that it's all been because of these moments like this right here.
Yeah, and you would think there's going to be demons that are on their level. These guys aren't
Right.
going to need to fight upper rank demons. There's going to be more than enough demons out there for people to vanquish, let's say. So just all of that combined, they're showing us that they're weaker than Tanjiro. it was really nice that they're picking themselves up every day. They're still technically going through the training. They're doing the runs every day, all that type of stuff. And now they probably believe in themselves a little bit more because that's just the Tanjiro effect because he's the fucking man. So, yeah, this was all just very nice. And it's just good to see Tengen back in action. It's also great to see them sparring Tanjiro and Tengen, and then we get episode 4 and more of that type of stuff. So this was all kind of fun.
Something that is always in any anime you watch, like some of our favorite characters are always the side characters that are on the level of like the MC and their crew. For example, like in JJK, you got Toto, right?
Legend.
You got, his crew, you got Panda and all those guys. I wish Demon Slayer did some of last season was awesome that we got like what's his name? Genya.
Yeah.
Like Genya got his time to shine. We need to see the butterfly
Quiet girl.
The insect Hashira's underling kind of do something. I hope that in this final arc, in the end of this arc or in the final arc or through the training, we kind of see what they're capable of. Because other than the Hashira, we really only see Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Tanjiro do some damage. Aside from last arc, of course, I would like to see some of those side characters because it's just fun, and it kind of like, what is it? Just going to be the Hashira, Tanjiro, and then fodder versus fodder? Like, no, I want to see some like contribution by the core. You know what I'm saying? I hope that training arc builds that up a little bit. I think it will.
I'm glad you brought up Genyam because it just crossed my mind. Like, where is he at? I'm sure he's probably well advanced past these people as well. Like, he's already proven to be more physical and
I think he's still recovering.
He could also. Is he still recovering? Also,
it seemed like they mentioned that Tanjiro was healing almost at the same rate as the Hashiras, so I think he probably healed quicker than Genya did.
I just feel like now that we're following more of the Wind Hashira, Genya cannot be too far behind now that we know, like, the brother situation, and we know that there is some tension there. I feel
he
like
definitely has potential.
Yeah, I think Genya should make an appearance. He has to be part of the Hashira training arc. Everyone is.
Episode 5, if I'm not mistaken, they at the end of the episode it said it was like I ate a demon or something, and
the name of the next episode.
And isn't that what Genya literally did in the?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I feel like it'll be about.
Because I only took it as like about Hashira is obsessed with eating, so I just kind of thought it was a play on something like there. So that totally makes sense.
They could tie him back in. That's my short-term prediction.
Okay, I like that one definitely.
The last, I think, episode 3 thing I wanted to call out was just I love Tanjiro explaining to everyone else what it's like to fight an upper demon, and he's talking about it like it was a great experience because it made him stronger and stuff, and they're all sitting there like shaking in their boots like, okay, stop describing it because that's actually terrifying. And Tanjiro's like, I couldn't even move, like, and then it hurt so bad, and he was just like, he's such a funny guy.
He loves talking about it. But the one last thing we can actually talk about here for episode 3 is the Serpent Hashira and Wind Hashira meet up to discuss what they saw at the raid on that demon castle that we saw in episode 1. They just understand that a huge threat is coming and that they need them train themselves, not only just the recruits, and the only way for them to personally get stronger is by fighting each other. So they offer up a one-on-one fight, which we'll get into in the next episode. But I was definitely hype here for this moment. It's just a great idea. It obviously makes sense. Like, they're not going to get stronger just training people that are significantly weaker than them. That's not going to do any favors to them.
Yeah, and then it's hard to wait a week for that.
Oh yeah, I know.
Okay, now we gotta wait till next week. How many days left? Yeah.
And sorry, I lied. The last thing we can talk about in episode 3, because I don't think they really make an appearance in episode 4 all that much, is the new Upper Moon Demon 4, which we can talk about maybe a little bit because, like Kyle said at the beginning, they did replace. Like, we had 4 in the Swordsmith Village arc.
Yeah.
And so I guess with his defeat, someone got replaced. But my question, I guess, is we saw it's the strumming girl, right?
Yeah. We saw her in the Infinity Castle.
So was she not in Upper Moon at the time that she was strumming what is that instrument called? I forget what.
I don't know what it's called.
Not a guitar, but you know what I'm saying. Like, she was always there with Muzan at the Infinity Castle. She would strum. We were talking about it, how she was the one responsible for potentially moving the rooms and whatnot. And we already had known at the time that there was the upper rank 4, and I guess she wasn't it. and then now she is. So that's just where that's the
Yeah.
discussion I kind of want to get around here, is seeing if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I feel like Muzan can just do whatever he wants. So he maybe just could instill
Just
some
offered
level
more
of,
blood.
some type of power to her, and it's like, all right, you're the new number 4.
If I remember correctly, in season 1, you remember the guy that Tanjiro fought at the demon's house, who's like half human, the medicine demon, and he had the balls and shit,
Oh yeah.
and he had like markings in his eyes.
Mhm.
I'm fake, but he did mention he got like some extra juice from. Didn't they show a scene of him getting injected
and-
with blood
Yeah.
by
The guy who was on Mugen Train too.
Yes, that's what I was just gonna
he
say.
also
Like,
got injected. Some people can handle that extra blood. Some people just
yeah, so like he can
can't.
just power people up whenever he feels like it.
They also have to be like
Good.
good, like
Put
strong enough to
high
handle
put-
it.
yeah.
I mean, granted, he'll dish it out to whoever, but he knows that also not all demons are capable.
Yeah,
of handling
so
it.
episode the finale of the last season, the Swordsmith season, the 4th guy got crushed by Tanjiro, and he probably just filled that slot, and now he's probably, her ability is probably the eyes already, and maybe like it's enhanced now with the extra juice. Who knows?
I'm definitely interested to see what their power is, just because again, like we know we've seen them use the guitar looking thing, but now we also see that they have like an army of million eyes out there just like roaming the streets. So multiple powers potentially, we'll see. But that's really it for episode 3, and then we can just go right into episode 4 with Tanjiro arriving at his next training lesson, who is none other than Aoki's favorite Hashira, Muichiro, and he's just laying down some ass beatings on the new trainees.
Yeah.
And like we discussed earlier, he just seems to be a lot more strict in terms of, we'll say, like lack of empathy from Muichiro versus Tengen. Tengen was just, like we said, tough love, where this is more so tough. And again,
he's just very dry. He's like super dry.
Exactly. And just a fantastic reunion again. I mean, I know this was more recent of a get together and clash, but this was still amazing because we do get to see Muichiro and how he's fully grown, fully healthy now, and how he has grown from being that kind of like narcissist asshole, and now he's more of aware of everything.
Sorry, the connection was a little slow.
I didn't load up.
That looks good now.
Looks good now. So we'll just go and do it. After Muichiro and Tanjiro are reintroduced, Muichiro shows Tanjiro to Mr. Kanamori, who was the swordsmith for Tokito at the Swordsmith Village in the last season's arc, who helped Muichiro defend another very Japanese name that I don't want to butcher, but it's basically the swordsmith who's crafted Tanjiro's swords, and he was the one that helped beat the upper rank 5. So
the paper plane scene was cool.
Yeah.
Amazing throw, first of all.
Yeah, of course. What do you expect?
Didn't realize how much that was hinting towards the ending of the episode, because I don't think I ever expected a paper airplane competition at the end of the episode. But I like that scene. And the animation's always spectacular, but I thought it looked particularly good there when it gets cut in half and Tanjiro's so shocked at how sharp it is.
Yeah, and Kanamori is going to be here on a more permanent basis to help. It sounded like he was going to help specifically Tokito, Muichiro, keep his swords in top shape. I'm not sure if that also just means all of the swords in the Demon Slayer core in tip-top shape, but I
don't know, because there was 4 there. Does he have 3 backup swords? That seems like more than other people have, so I don't know.
I was surprised to see that he can just have that many swords, because they made such an emphasis on like taking care of your sword, and it didn't seem like you could have multiple. I also thought it was weird that when Tanjiro picked it up, it didn't change color, and Muichiro held them as well, and they remained like steel colored.
I kind of was thinking the same thing.
I figured at least if they were Muichiro's swords, they should change to the color of, his whatever, his color.
I don't think I was
it's
thinking
just
the same
interesting
thing, but I don't think they're going to elaborate it. At first, I kind of took it as like these were going to be the new swords for the new recruits. Like they were all going to get upgraded, sharper swords versus than what they were having to help, prepare them. But that still doesn't really explain, again, like what you were saying, how it didn't change color as soon as Tanjiro picked it up. And I'm pretty sure it's not a matter of like, oh, you got to think about something and then like it'll change color. I'm pretty sure like you just grab the sword and it should change color. So we'll see if they talk about it. I don't think, unfortunately, that
It might have to do with like claiming ownership of the sword.
maybe
You know, like
something,
since it's Muichiro's sword, or since he has a main sword right now, it might not switch until his other one breaks. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't think we need to read into it. It's just something I noticed.
And maybe also at the same time, they're seeing that more Hashiras and Demon Slayers are breaking their swords. So maybe they are like, hey, carry a backup, because Tanjiro is broken 2. I mean, Muichiro is broken 1. You know, it's like maybe we just need some back. It's like in lacrosse, man. You always need a backup stick in case your main twig gets broken, you know?
And tennis.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I want to shout out the master here just because how Tokito talks about him and how generous he is and how he built this swordsmith shack for Muichiro himself. And he's just always putting others ahead of himself. I just want to give the shout out to the master. He's really just a great guy. And I think in season 1, there were talks amongst us when we were watching week by week, like, oh, he's definitely got to be a villain. He's demon related somehow. But I think those are completely squashed at this point. Like, this guy is he's meant to be the leader of the Demon Slayer Corps. And
he's so cool. He's such a nice guy.
I don't want him to pass away, but I think he will. I think
they might need that boost. They might need that boost as the core, that final push.
Do you see him kind of making like a Commander Yamato from like Bleach kind of ending? You know, just he maybe has some final tricks in the book. Just
I was thinking that
there's
like
nothing to worry about because he's here, then he just keels over.
Yeah,
I was thinking like you gotta imagine he used to be able to throw hands, right?
I have to believe so. I mean, especially if he's related to Muzan, who's already himself just like an insanely good fighter. I just feel like there has to be some level of competency with a sword there.
We need to dive into that relationship. Maybe for next episode, we should have some things written down about that because I want to iron that out for myself.
You mean like of what's already been established, or what like we're anticipating with it?
Both. I think we need to flesh out kind of their relationship, how they're related. Maybe
like
Kyle, you can elaborate.
The way to do that would be by going back and watching some of the episodes, because I'm definitely not touching that Wikipedia.
I don't want to read. I don't want to Google it. It's fucking annoying.
I can see the rest of the season with the chemist demon whose name I'm forgetting he sends his bird to bring her to work with the insect Hashira on kind of the research part of it. I could see them like that storyline having maybe some more information,
because it did sound like her and Muzan went back a little bit. Like it was,
and I'm sure she would be curious too about him and maybe about healing him, what his illness is, all that type of stuff. So I could see that being a thing. I obviously have no idea if that will be, but I could see it.
The next thing we'll talk about here is even though a lot of the recruits are being demoralized by Muichiro and his training style, they have noticed him sneaking out at night and are very aware of his secret training that he's been doing as he shows up the next day with bruises on his arms and whatnot. But little do they know what the training is actually culpable of, because it was more than I could have imagined. I wanted more out of the fight. Absolutely. I could have watched 30 minutes straight of that fight without a doubt, but we got a little snippet of what's to come. And
Sneezer.
So we got a little bit of Wind Hashira versus Serpent Hashira, and then Muichiro shows up asking to join the fray, and they're like, well, only if you handle us 2-on-1, and proceeds to be just a masterclass of just fighting.
And he handles them, bro. He's the man.
I know you were in love with
He's the man, bro.
That stance he hits at the start is so hard, and then he just is gone, and then he's back, and then he's right behind the Wind Hashira. It's just so badass. I also thought it was sick when the Wind Hashira like stops his sword with his foot. That was pretty cool too. Yeah, and
I like how they're using wooden swords.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're good.
I like how they're using the wooden swords, but it still has like the colors. It's sick.
It just emphasizes that even with these wooden swords, they could fuck up anyone. Like, it's gonna do damage just like a normal sword would. It's just the fact that they need these specific swords because they can only, like, these swords are made to kill demons, but otherwise they're whipping out these moves with a fucking stick, I imagine.
I
If they
love
picked up a
how
stick.
the wind Hashiras, everybody's kimono or everybody's uniform says destroy, but the winds says kill,
Yeah,
which is so savage.
I think that is
He's a
sick.
beast.
It's so savage, and I love I love how like wind implies speed, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Like he's definitely super fast, and isn't his training like something about
Infinite slashes.
infinite slashes, so you can probably, like just go
Yeah.
crazy. But the Muichiro, the mist is like speed and wind plus water element there,
Yeah,
and
it
I
is a
love
mix,
that
yeah.
shit. I just
He's
think it's
so cool.
awesome.
He's so
I love
cool.
when he was
just,
in that. So cool.
my mouth was open. I just started giggling too at one point.
Yeah, I
It's
was the
just
same way.
like they don't show us a ton, but just the
Mm-hmm.
way the colors were clashing and interacting in the clouds of smoke, and you could kind of get a feel of it was just so cool. It was so well done. It was like one of the most engaging anime fights I've ever seen, where they show you next to nothing.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's
All right,
cool.
like I was locked in, but I was watching colors fly around in a cloud of smoke.
But it was
So
cool, like you said, how they emphasize the colors, because then like it's like you can see them, but you can't, like, who's where
Who's
and
who,
stuff.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're still
the
flying around.
speed of how it was happening was cool, and I love the way it ends too with Tokito's Raven, who's so annoying, which is hilarious. I love that little comedy
I
beat.
hate
And
the
then,
Raven. I fucking hate the Raven.
and then the Wind Hashira is just like, shut up, and just kind of like slashes wind at her.
I love when Tanjiro's Raven beefs with her.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah,
So
they
when
beef
Tanjiro,
hard.
it tells it to shut up, and it's like they get into it. I love that.
Is this the first female Raven we've seen?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I want to say
At least like a
yes.
female opposite gendered Raven for its owner, right? For its companion.
It's funny that you mentioned it, because last episode we had talked about how the Ravens are like very very parallel to their masters, where his is like not that at all, but most of them are, except for his. But I think that's the only female one we've seen. Yeah,
it's a great comedy bit right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking fantastic.
So 2 things left in the episode. Tanjiro and Muichiro are having a duel. Tanjiro just easily advances to the next part of the training. He doesn't easily best Muichiro. He's still struggling, but he's able to pass at least what is considered the training part of.
He definitely surprised Muichiro.
I think Muichiro knows what Tanjiro is capable of.
Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah, but I love the way they kind of break it down, the feedback that he gives him. With the first being constructive criticism, where he's like, you have to transition from tense to relaxed quicker and smoother.
I said, when he said that, I was like, that is so accurate, because I feel like as we've been watching Demon Slayer for these number of arcs and whatever, you can still tell that Tanjiro in those moments is like,
I can't move.
Yeah, he's like tense too much, and like he's not letting his body like be fluid. And so I just love that, the way he described it, because I thought it was honestly right on the money, that you can see it in every fight that he's been in, the moments that he relaxes, and then when things get a little out of hand, it's constantly tense. It's not a fluid back and forth, and he expends a lot of that energy, and that's what happens almost every season, is that by the end he's like completely gassed and has nothing left in him. So I thought that was like a great 2-sentence thing that was just perfect reflection for Tanjiro.
I love that too, and it made me really sad when he's like, "Okay, you're good. I taught you everything." I was just like, "Are you kidding? Like, let's work on this shit a little more, dude. It's been like 5 days."
He's got the
I mean his shoulders and his hips are aligned in their movements, and that's all I needed to see, I guess.
Let's go. But before he goes, he offers to do a paper airplane throwing contest, where if he just beats him 1 out of 10 times, he'll be a little bit easier on the trainees. And of course, this just offers another moment of inspiration for the other recruits to see Tanjiro competing with a Hashira. And I think for them, it's like, okay, we can compete in other ways, not just head-to-head combat. Like we can have some camaraderie here. And I think Muichiro was very touched by this, of course. And Tanjiro, just the sappiness is amazing, man. I don't care. I fucking love Tanjiro. He's definitely one of my favorite MCs of all time, man. The way that he just influences people around him so easily, and it's just so great.
He purposely seeks out the hobby information to try to create the connection between the students and Muichiro, because he knows that Muichiro is deep down like a good guy and has a kind heart. And
he's also a kid.
Also true. He's 14 years old, I think. So
they're the same age.
So, and I liked too how they have Morishiro later on in the episode, when they has that moment with the student where they have the real swords. It kind of breaks down and he compliments him. And he says, you didn't attack recklessly. Like, and then he turns to the whole class and is basically saying, like, it's this tough because I don't want you guys to die. Like, I care about you guys. I want you guys to live a long life, but you can't mess around with this type of stuff. So I like that he's kind of still being himself, but he's growing in that sense of expressing himself. And it's just fun to watch. Tanjiro just has that effect on people, like we said.
That ties my first statement back about Tengen and how you realize like why he's being so tough, and that was Mutro's moment right there, and it's like it brings everything back to the first ground floor. You know what I mean?
I'm curious, do you think paper plane, is that like a cultural Japanese thing, or is that something that maybe in the universe? Because they were all like, "Oh, I placed first place in my village's paper plane contest," and I just was thinking,
in Japan, origami is huge, right? So
very fair, very fair.
That's probably where that comes from.
Also, Tanjiro's plane had like the dip nose.
That was so bad.
Just like, what are you doing?
I was cringing. I was like, "That's not gonna fly, dude." I know enough about paper airplanes, man.
Yeah, that was funny.
I love also too when Muichiro is telling Tanjiro that he's ready to go on to the next course, and the other trainees are just like, "Oh, like, are we good to go?" And the glare that Muichiro just hits him with is so good. And he's like, "You guys are worthless. Like, you're not going anywhere." Oh, it's so good.
I'm curious, did all of those people pass Tengen's?
That's what
is that what we're led to believe? So yes, then, like, there's people that have then passed Maurichiro's and gone to the Love Hashira, and because
I think that they're starting at different points.
Is it that? Because there's no way that they're just waiting for everyone to pass.
Yeah,
like, is the Stone Hashira at the end just twiddling his thumbs, waiting for everyone to get to him?
I think they start at different points because how else you can do it efficiently?
Because at the end of the Wind Hashira, Serpent Hashira, and Miss Hashira clash, they're like, "Oh, how are your recruits doing?" They all three of them talk about how they're holding up. So I guess you're right. I thought maybe it's just Tanjiro's path is just, one by one like this, maybe, or whatever. But
it could be a little both. Like maybe a couple of recruits have moved on from each. Yeah. But some are still stuck at a level, and some started at different levels. I don't know.
Yeah.
The last thing
it's maybe not even necessary that some are harder than others. They're all just different. So maybe someone is super flexible. So the Love Hashira training is not that bad for them, but then they get to the Stone Hashira. It's like, okay, I'm a wimpy. I have no muscle mass, so this is difficult for me type of deal. Yeah.
I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is what I was asking for in episodes 1 and 2 when they talked about the Hashira, old Hashiras returning. We got Urokodaki watching over Nezuko at the very end, and he's just excited to see his return as well because obviously he has so much to give with Tanjiro. We now know the full backstory of the kids that he raised in the whole entrance exam situation. So very excited to see that reunion between these two.
And he has firsthand experience with Nezuko.
Yeah. I hope when he sees Giyu-san, he just gives him a little backhand. He's like, "What have I've taught you nothing over these years." Just wake up, bro. Wake up.
I just love his character design.
I have a little bit of a prediction. It's definitely a bold prediction, but I think that with the whole thing of the mark and how if you're around other people with the mark, you can manifest it. I really hope that something manifests in the Demon Slayer Corps' leader, and he has like a surge of energy before death, and I don't know, fuck something.
He gets marked real quick before he goes out.
Yeah, I think he'll die.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, they've geared it up so much that I feel like if they didn't kill him, I would be a little upset.
It's poetic. It's like if whatever the relation is, the whole point is to kill Muzan. And if Muzan's dead, there's no more demons, and then there's no Demon Slayer Corps, no use for them after that. So there's no Demon Slayer Corps for him to lead after.
It's interesting you say that too, because I feel like I was getting death vibes from Morichiro, and just it felt like everything he was saying was in the training, like, now you're dead, now you're dead, now you're dead, you've been dead 3 times, like, I don't want you guys to die. And then he's talking, and when he's Tanjiro, he's like, let's make this let's promise this pact that we'll take down Muzan together, and it was just like they're talking
Ooh.
a lot in this episode, man. They're talking about it a
well,
lot.
I'm not ready for my heart to break, but I know it's coming. I'm trying to mentally prep myself as much as I can. Just like, okay, don't as I'm watching, I'm like, don't get too attached. Just like keep your
Yeah.
distance a little bit. But
It's like
it's impossible.
Giyu Morichiro.
No way, dude.
Someone is
If
definitely on the
Mauricio
chopping
dies, I'll
block.
be severely disappointed. He didn't get enough. He didn't
People
get enough
have
screen
to.
time.
People,
I
well,
know.
I mean, not yet. I'm not saying he's dying next episode, but he was in. I mean, the Upper Demon 4. Is that the way to say it?
I just hope
Either
that
way,
whatever the last
Adam.
season is, that they have it storyboarded and they don't do part 5, 3, 6, 7, 8 like Attack on Titan. I don't think it's that type of story anyway, but
No.
it deserves like it deserves its due diligence. You know, Attack on Titan was still amazing, but they have time. Like, don't rush.
Yeah.
We're patient. Everybody that likes Demon Slayer will appreciate it. You know,
It seemed
what
like
they've been
people
doing
liked
so
the
far has been
ending
great.
for the most part. Or rather, how about this? I haven't read anything terrible about the ending. You know, like Attack on Titan, when it ended, you heard some things online that was people were on either side of it. So, you know, things like that. So I've only
people
heard good
apparently
things
liked
about
the people like the Attack on Titan anime better because they like fleshed out some of the inconsistencies that at least people felt there were inconsistencies in the manga, like with that last dialogue between Armin and Eren, spoilers, and they felt like it was ironed out in the anime, which I was cool with it either way.
Sounds good to me. We got 4 left this season, which is crazy. We're halfway done. It's sad.
Yes.
Sad.
All right. That's going to be it for today's episode coverage of Demon Slayer. If you like what you heard, give Bingetown TV a follow on all of our socials at Bingetown TV, X, Insta, YouTube, the works. Be sure to join our Discord and chat with us about anything that you're watching or watching with us. And lastly, for our podcast catalog, check out bingetowntv.com. We have a nice organized platform there for you to access whatever shows that we're covering in a nice alphabetical manner for you guys.
Yeah,
And
the
if I didn't say-
boys.
Oh, yeah. We got
House
the
of the
boys
Dragon
coming up. The Bear. Bingetown is going to be very, very busy these next couple of months, but we're very excited for it. We have a lot to look forward to. If I didn't say it enough, once again, we are Bingetown TV, and thanks for listening.
Don't click the recording yet because any My Hero Academia fans out there, manga is done, and I'm just wondering if any of our Demon Slayer fans are My Hero Academia fans, and you guys should comment on what you think about the ending.
Without
go.
spoiling it, though, because
Yeah.
I'm a little bit behind.
Yeah, you can join the Discord. You can email us. How about that? That too.
Email us.
Yeah.
Fax us. Hit my
Well,
pager. Hit my pager.
Yeah, I bet. All right.
All right. Thanks, everybody.